Hey, welcome back to Kaarten's Papercraft. Thank you very much for watching. This is a card which I've made for my catalogue launch party. I wanted to highlight the sit, stay and relax stamp set, and I've created a decorative mask with the dots and spots dies to make the dotted background. And how about this lovely stitched edge with the matching, oh there it is, it's in mirror view, sorry about that. How about this lovely stitched edge made with the baker's twine? If you want to find out more about this card, keep watching. And of course, since I wanted to focus on the new ink colours for my catalogue launch party, I have here samples of every colour: Tahitian Tide, Sweet Sorbet, Orchid Oasis, Parakeet Party and Starry Sky. And you don't have to have the cat, there's also the dog. And today's card I'm going to make in Starry Sky because it shows up best while filming, I think, because of the darker colour. Right, so you need your stamp set, Sit, Stay and Relax, which is a host stamp set. I like this chair as well, but I'm going to take the dog today. Then, of course, you want the matching baker's twine. Again, this is the Starry Sky. I'm going to stamp, obviously, in Starry Sky ink. I'm going to use two blends, the Pool Party Light and the, oh, it's a long name, the Natural Tones stamping blend, and then the colour 700, which is one of the medium lights for the dog. And then I'm going to use three dies, the Dots and Spots die, the Scalloped Contours dies and the Blossoming Happiness dies, this one, to make the edge for the baker's twine to go on. And of course you need some cardstock as well. Let me just take a look at my measurements. You want a scrap for the sentiment. You want a piece of Starry Sky, which is 5.5 by 8.25, because that is what I have in A4. If you work in US sizes, you can have 5.5 by 8.5 and then score it at 4.25. I have 5.5 by 8.25 and I'm going to score at 4 1/8. A scrap piece. You want some thick basic white cardstock, which is 3.5 by 4 3/4, and you want a piece of basic white to stamp on, which is 2 3/4 by 3 inches. And of course all the measurements and everything that I've used is on my blog and the link is below. First I'm going to score my card. So I'm scoring at 4 1/8. Scoring, not cutting, Kaarten. Oh gosh. Okay. I have some more scraps now. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. 5.5. Now I do have to start by cutting because I want a 5.5 piece. Some more scrap for my sentiment, and I'll put my cutting blade out of the way and score at 5.5 inches. 4 1/8, sorry. Let's talk about being off your stride. So this can be folded, and then I use my bone folder to flatten that score line so the card lies flat. What a shame, isn't it? Okay, well, never mind. Then this is my base card. Then I'm going to make the spotted mat, and to do so I'll show you how I did it. I made a decorative mask with the dots and spots die, and I use a piece of window sheet. Now there is a caution, it wasn't easy. I had to run it through 2 or 3 times and I had to use a shim, and I certainly wouldn't do this more than once because I don't know whether the acetate will blunt the cutting edges of all those dots. So if you don't want to risk your die, then you could certainly use some cardstock. But the nice thing about the window sheet is that you can use this over and over, and you can just run it under the tap and then it's clean and you can use it for a different card. So underneath I have a magnetic sheet, and I'm putting my cardstock on top of the magnetic sheet, and then I'm trying to get my dots on as straight as I can, and I'm using magnets, and then I'm using a blending brush and of course the Starry Sky ink. And because this is on this magnetic mat, it doesn't move easily. If you're not careful it does move, but I'm holding my mask there, and then I can gently, you can always go over again to make the colour darker. There's no need to push really hard, and then I can ink all my spots like this. Another advantage I have to say about the window sheet is that it costs you less ink, because you pick up the ink again and again from the window sheet. If you do use some cardstock, you're inking the cardstock as well, and you may have to ink your brush more often. But as I said, caution, you may damage your die, so if you don't want to take the risk, then don't. Take that advice from me. You don't have to do what I do. Then I can remove my magnets. I can run this under the tap. I'll do that later, and you see I have a spotted mat. Then I'm going to die cut this, and for that I'm using the Scalloped Contours dies, and then I'm taking the second largest. I'm attaching this to the card base, and I want it a bit towards the right bottom corner. Then I can show you how to make the stamped image and the die cut edge. I'm going to use my Stamparatus for this, because I did take the extra trouble of using some Versamark and the clear stamping emboss powder, because, well, it has a more finished look. Where's my dog? Where did I put my card to show you? Ah, there it is, underneath my die. I don't know if the camera picks this up, but it is... Oh, I forgot to switch on the extra light. Sorry about that. Makes it just a bit more light, see? I hope you can see that this is then with Versamark, and it shows up really shiny. And you want it with the... it was 2 3/4 by 3 inches, and you want a 3 inches side top, so that you can put your stamp there, a bit towards the right, because I'm going to make the cutting edge there, so that's why this is a bit wider than it is high. So put my stamp on, and I'm going to ink the stamp. That looks great. Then I'm going to clean off my stamp first, because I don't want to put the blue ink onto my Versamark ink pad. So this is clean. Just a bit more there. Put Versamark on, and then I'm going to put the clear stamping emboss powder over that and heat set it with my heat gun. As you could see, I've given some shadow to the the chair. Doesn't even remotely look like a tree, but never mind. It's just one of those days. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm going to use the Blossoming Happiness die, one of the Blossoming Happiness dies, to make this edge to my piece of cardstock. it has a long line there which is a cutting edge, so you can use that. And then I'm putting it just slightly under the card, and then I'm trying to get my paper, the edges, in between those little holes, and then I'm going to die cut this. You could see that it has cut off a bit of the paper as well, which is what I took into account on purpose. Now I have to remove my die really carefully because this tape is tacky, and then there are some bits in your die. Tapping it will remove them, and if there's a really stubborn bit, you could use your brush tip. There is mine. See, and now they're all gone. There's a longer attachment for it, but I just don't bother changing that. I just use it like that, which works as well. So let me get rid of these little bits, and I'm going to show you the stitching. I do use an embroidery needle and one with a large eye. Does it show on camera? I don't think it does. Now it will. So with a large eye to be able to get your twine in. And I'm going to do this in two parts. I'll start at the bottom. You could start at the top as well if you wanted to, but I'm starting at the bottom. I'm threading it through. Okay. And then I'm starting here, and I go from the top down, and then I just pull my thread through as far as the third hole from the top. So in and out again, and I come up for the last time at a third hole from the top, and then I can make sure I have an edge which is long enough, and then I'm using a bit of tear and tape to secure my baker's twine, and that's because I've run out of glue dots. Never happened to me before. I thought I had plenty, but I didn't. So I'm just pulling this way and securing it with a bit of tear and tape. Make sure it sticks well, and then I can cut off. And then you repeat from the top end. Again from the top, and then you weave in and out, and you come up in the fourth hole, so that your two ends of baker's twine end up opposite with a sort of bridge in between. And just make sure there's plenty of baker's twine to be able to tie a bow. Let me put my needle away first before I lose it. Again, a piece of tear and tape. Now I'm pulling my end this way, and I'm using plenty because I don't want to get this, well, I don't want this to be loose once it's on my card, obviously. So this can go back in the box, and always snip in the top of the spool, and then you can push your thread through, you see, and it doesn't unwind again. Now then, I'll show you near the camera. I hope it's still in focus, so you can see the two threads come out at opposite ends, so this one and that one. Then all I have to do is tie a knot first of all. By doing so, I'll make sure that my two ends end up horizontally. See? Now I can tie a bow. And I'm wondering if this would work if I remove this paper. it will be sticky on both ends, won't it? Oh yeah, the baker's twine stays in fine. And okay, so this works. And then I can put it onto my card. Right, and now for the sentiment, which is in the same stamp set. Wish you were here. Here I'm going to use Versamark. Just need a block for that. And I'm going to use the white embossed powder, otherwise your letters won't show up. Then all I have to do now is cut these. So I start at either end and then I'm trimming these two edges. And then you can snip those. And now with my last couple of glue dots, I had just a few left. I really wanted to keep them for this because otherwise, well, sticking these down with my Tombow is just too tricky. I was wondering if I could use the adhesive sheets for that as well. Possibly I could, but okay, so this needs a bit more of a trim, doesn't it? Cutting my tweezers out, and I'll be able to put it in exactly the spot. Wish you were here. And then these go on to the card. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.